Everything in the game is human-made. When AI first came out in 2022, we'd already started on the game. It was just a new tool. We tried it, we didn't like it at all. It felt wrong. We are a very non-AI company, and it is all humans making Warframe and Soulframe. I'm very passionate about not having any of that shit. Nothing in our games will be AI generated, ever. There is a quality difference. A real professional actor is better than AI. That's just how it is. I'm not worried about AI creating hits because it's built on data that already exists. It's backward looking. Big hits are forward looking and therefore need to be created out of thin air. Being the most creative means not just thinking outside of the box, it means there is no box. These are just some of the recent comments from different game developers about GenAI in games over the last couple of years. Now, Zelnick's comments there are a little bit interesting because they actually circled back on them and they actually tried to invest in AI, but then they recently they fired the head of their AI team and an undisclosed number of employees that were working on their AI team. So I don't know where Zelnick now sits on GenAI in games, but probably still doesn't think they're making teams. But they're not using GenAI in GTA 6 at the very least. And there's also an important caveat from the Embark Studios CEO that we're going to get to in a little bit. And it's not that great. But these are some of the statements we're seeing now that we wouldn't have seen a couple years ago. And I have reserved two big statements that I want to say for the end of the video because it's a sign of one of the things that I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of in the coming years as certain companies try to distance themselves and set themselves apart from how GenAI is used or not used in their games. Kind of the end of GenAI in those games. But is this the end of GenAI in video games? This turning point? No, it's not, and I'm gonna explain why, unfortunately, because I fucking hate it, just to be upfront and blunt about it. At GDC this year, 52% of 2,300 game developers polled said they see generative AI as being bad for the industry, up from 30% in 2025 and 18% in 2024. Only 7% said generative AI was good for the industry. 7 fucking percent said it was good. That's all. Who is actually using AI and how is actually a very interesting part of the survey. Only 36% of people responding to the survey are actually using AI and 64% are not, but the actual results are pretty interesting. 41% of men reported using it compared to 35% of women. Older workers, 46%, are more likely than younger workers to be using it. And those with a master's or PhD, 45%, said to use it more than those with a bachelor's degree or lower. But the biggest differences tended to be with the job that you were doing. If you're working at an actual game studio, you were less likely to use AI, only 30% usage. Well, if you're working at a publishing company, you were more likely to use it. Publishing, support teams, and marketing and PR firms at 58%. Business professional usage was at 58%, with upper management at 47% and those the lower decks at 29%. Studio directors was at 36% between the two. And I thought the breakdown of what people actually are using AI for is pretty interesting because it doesn't seem to be what you might expect, or at least what you would think of when you think of AI in games. It seems like it's for boring shit like writing emails, scheduling other daily tasks, which is 47% of what the tools are, or researching or brainstorming, which was 81%, which I have a problem with because you should be able to come up with shit on your own. Code assistance, prototyping made up 47% or 35%, testing, debugging 22%, marketing or promotional content 20%, asset generation was 19%, personalized content 12%, procedural generation 10%, player-facing features 5%, and other at 8%. I think this is a really important distinction to talk about when we're talking about AI in gaming and how it's being adopted by all these studios, because a lot of the adoption is actually happening in some of the laziest and most boring places and not actually the places we care most about. While I personally may find it really silly and kind of dumb to use GenAI to use all your marketing responses and emails because it makes everything sound incredibly generic, but I still think it's a distinction that needs to be made when we're talking about AI adoption, especially when we're talking about AI adoption in gaming. AI in your Outlook isn't AI adoption in gaming. And then you had perhaps one of the most telling and interesting parts of the survey, which asked about what was the policy of the company when it came to AI tools. And the breakdown was pretty interesting. It was kind of all over the place, but there was a very clear break here. The winning choice being AI tools being optional at 28%, next being select tools being allowed and others not being allowed at 22%, coming in third being no tools allowed at all at 16%, sitting on the fence at 15% having no policy, and then at the bottom of the barrel you have only proprietary tools and internal tools at 6%, and finally they're mandated at 6%. So really what I took away from this is the two breakaways here of not allowed to use at 16% and mandated at 6%. That's a clear break for me. So you have people basically they're optional at 28%, and then you have the mandated at 6% and not allowed to use at 16%. And this is several years in to the boom of GenAI. Game publishers like Hooded Horse, who publish Manor Lords, have strict zero AI policies, and there's entire game awards that will not give you an award, as we saw recently, if you use it in your game. And it makes sense. There has been a lot of backlash to GenAI when it has been used. Recently, Larian Studios, beloved up until this point, and honestly still beloved, had to hold an AMA largely to quell a lot of anger around comments about GenAI, and honestly a large chunk of that AMA devoted to walking back some statements and even pulling back on some proposed usages while still keeping the door open for it in the future. Crimson Desert issued a lengthy apology when they shipped their game with placeholder art that had 5-legged horses and a whole bunch of inconsistent and really just low quality paintings all throughout the world, and they had to add in a patch that removed all of it. Essentially GenAI placeholders that just did not look good. The same kind of needless placeholders that actually cost Expedition 33 a Game of the Year award for having accidentally left in one of these useless placeholders. And I say useless because they are useless. They are not actually adding something that we don't already have. For writing, we have lorem ipsum. That is a thing that has existed forever. We don't need anything new to replace it. For placeholder art, we already have placeholder art. And if you make it something that is passable, well, then you're gonna miss it. It makes it easier to miss. Something I think is actually very well illustrated by none other than Josh Sawyer. Josh Sawyer, of course, being the director of Obsidian. Placeholder assets in a game should look obnoxiously temporary, so obvious that no one would mistake it for the final asset. In past games, we've used the Doge Dog, RIP, as an icon, hot pink versions of characters, our CEO's head, etc. If you use a temp asset that seems passable, it may stay there. And it obviously does. It has stayed there in multiple games. And this doesn't get into the ethical questions of the fact that GenAI art is essentially art that has been trained off of copyrighted art from other artists, or the undeniable impact it has on human workers, concept artists, artists all over the place. In general, it's just not worth it. It's bad. It's going to make a worse product and it's going to harm people. So it's just negative all around. And honestly, from my standpoint, if you can't imagine something with stick figures or concept art, or even the pictures of your developers' cats and dogs, if your imagination doesn't work that well, I don't know that I want to play the game that you're imagining. Because if you have to offload your imagination to a machine to imagine it for you, what the fuck are you making as a game? I can't trust that you're actually making a quality product. Because if you can't make that most basic, the most basic step, then why would I expect that you can make the further steps after that? And this is the core of it. AI can't make better games. And that's not even why a company like EA or Ubisoft is excited about AI. What they're excited about is that it can make them cheaper. That is why NVIDIA trotted out their NVIDIA DLSS 5 to an overwhelming reception of 16% like to dislike ratios on YouTube. It's not for you. It's for investors. Studios like EA and Ubisoft are going to continue to throw money at GenAI to continue to churn out games at faster rates, giving us as much generic slop as possible because doing so might look better on a Q1 or Q2 ledger, not a Game of the Year awards or a Player's Choice poll. I mean, what would you expect from a studio that gave you Soccer Game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10? Or their other games, Military Shooter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But it's not just those gigantic companies either, because I want to talk about Embark's quote as well. That quote continued, the one that admitted that humans do a better job than AI. We re-recorded some of the lines post-launch and made them with real voices. There is a quality difference. A real professional actor is better than AI. That's just how it is. We look at AI first and foremost as a production tool. We can test things internally. We can test 15 different lines without recording them, and then we can know what to record. It's also a way for us to work, not replace actors. We don't necessarily believe in replacing humans with AI all the time. Warhorse, who made the Kingdom Come Deliverance games, is rumored to be looking into GenAI for localizations, despite the often reported fact that GenAI is generally weak in that specifically, in localizations, because it's cited as having issues in understanding context for translations. But these studios will continue to go forward with this. They will continue to try and use this because it will be cheaper. It will lead to people losing their jobs. It will also lead to doing things faster for less. So no, this isn't going to be the end of GenAI in gaming. I think we're actually probably going to see a lot more of it, which kind of sucks ass. Big companies are going to be doubling and tripling down on it, just like EA and Ubisoft, regardless of any backlash. Other companies are going to continue to experiment with it, fail with it, dick around with it. Some will find some uses with it. Some are going to be falling flat on their faces with embarrassing mistakes like Expedition 33 and Crimson Desert did, or PR mishaps like Larian just did. And we're also going to see a lot of immersion-breaking five-legged horses. We're going to see a lot of shitty half-assed translations. We're going to see Studio Ghibli ripoffs in war sims, because it won't be better, it's just going to be cheaper. But you're still going to probably pay more, even if the game costs less to make, because they cut the team in half to make it, and the quarterly profits hit a record high. Yay. But because of all that, because of all that I just talked about, I think we're going to start seeing something else that we've already started to see happen. Something that just happened with a big game that's coming out this year, Phantom Blade Zero. Studios are going to start to become more eager to distance themselves from GenAI. They're going to start to really want to show that they are not using it. They're gonna want to say, we're not using this shit. We're not using this cost-cutting measure. We're trying to make something good. We're trying to make something with artistic integrity. We're not cutting corners. This is handcrafted. We value you and we value art. With every placeholder, shitty-looking five-legged horse or immersion-breaking translation that doesn't make any sense, devs are going to be looking for ways to stand out in a market that is saturated with choices and will likely become more saturated. And one way to do that is to stand up and say, we are bespoke, we are handcrafted. We didn't put this shit into a prompt that you can make at home for $5. And I think it'll become more and more intense. I don't think you'll be able to get away with just saying, well, in the final version, everything will be handcrafted. I think you'll have to be stronger than that. And that excuse of, oh, it's inevitable, AI is inevitable, it's just a freaking lazy ass cop-out. It's an excuse. Instead, I think we'll start seeing some statements from this brand new indie developer that is creating Wild Heart and debuted the co-op RPG at PAX East this year.
Everything is handcrafted. We use some procedural tools for placing trees and stuff, but there's no AI involved in this. So this is just us sort of stepping away from the massive budgets of pace of AAA and doing something that feels a lot more personal and grounded. And so just wanted to call that out and thank all of you for showing up and checking it out alongside us.
All your love, resting now beneath the ice, fading into waters as black as your eyes. Winter spread, turn your soul so cold, leaving all our hopes, all our stories untold. Dream now of summer nights, in them I'll hold you tight tonight.
Or an even stronger and more to the point statement like the one coming from Phantom Blade Zero's developer that was really, really detailed about just how much they have done and really got quite a lot of good press because of it. A game that honestly already looked good and I was ready to play, and now I'm just even more eager to play after this. They said, quote, "We are fully aware that a profound technological revolution is unfolding around us. However, to this day, every single piece of content in our game has been crafted by the hands of real artists. We will not use AI visual tech that could alter our artists' original creative intent. Our character models are built upon 3D scans of our phenomenal cast, who also provided the facial capture performances. The voice acting in both Chinese and English has been meticulously refined by our dedicated actors and directors, complete with full lip syncing for both languages. The prototypes for our weapons are drawn from the vast arsenal of traditional Chinese weaponry. Sometimes to better understand how a weapon's weight and length impact movement, we have master swordsmiths forge real replicas. Our combat is motion captured by over 20 highly experienced martial artists. To capture the most authentic kung fu techniques, we consult directly with the masters and inheritors of traditional martial arts schools. When we needed authentic swordplay, we invited sword masters from Mount Eme. When we needed lion dance choreography, we brought in lion dance masters from Guangdong. Of course, we also visited many stunning locations across China, from ancestral halls in Fujian to ancient towns in Zhejiang, and even old steel factories in Beijing. We scanned these places and reimagined them in unexpected combinations to build something truly original, the visual identity we call and defined as Kung Fu Punk. The game also features a series of guiding maps. These are not AI generated, nor are they digital paintings at all. They were hand-drawn using Chinese brushes and zhuan paper, rice paper, by young artists from the Chinese painting department at the Central Academy of Fine Arts. We firmly believe that human artistry is not merely a means for creating value, it is the value itself. S-Game didn't just hire a group of developers to make a game. Rather, in our pursuit of continuously building an exceptional, passionate team, we decided to make a game that everyone here could be deeply proud of. That is perhaps the strongest statement I've read, not just like slamming AI, but actually elevating art as like the heart of the game. And I think that's an important part to point out. And I think that's what a lot of this is going to come down to, is elevating that. When I think of games like Baldur's Gate 3, when I think of what made that game so special to me, it was how much the performances of the actors in that game really kind of elevated that game above some of the games I played before. Samantha Bayard's portrayal of Karlach really just, it took so much home for me in some of the most emotional moments, those gut-wrenching moments. And those are the kind of things that I am personally looking for in my video games when I'm going to play them. So I'm going to be looking for these kind of statements when I go to play games. And I think these kind of statements saying that their game is bespoke is something they're going to see a lot more of. Not to mention the fact that on Steam, you have AI disclosures already. My name is Redbird Flynn. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am sure this video will have probably the most dislikes of any video I've ever done, but I felt like I should do it anyway. Thank you so much, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will see you all soon.